Some of the greatest discoveries in human history did not begin on land. They began with a single dive. Imagine standing on the deck of a small research vessel, drifting above crystal clear turquoise water, somewhere in the middle of the ocean. Around you, vibrant coral reefs glow beneath the morning sun. Tropical fish dart between colorful corals, and the sea appears calm enough to reveal the bottom dozens of feet below. Then, the ocean suddenly disappears. Not gradually, instantly. The brilliant blue water gives way to an enormous circle of darkness. A perfect opening carved into the sea floor, so deep that sunlight cannot reach its bottom. From above, it looks less like part of the ocean and more like a doorway leading into another world. The dive team makes one final equipment check. Oxygen, pressure gauges, underwater lights, cameras, everything's ready. One by one, the divers slip beneath the surface. For the first few moments, the descent feels peaceful. Schools of fish circle the reef as rays of sunlight dance across the limestone walls. But every meter downward changes the world around them. The light begins to fade. The water grows colder. The colorful reef slowly disappears behind them. Soon, only the narrow beams of their dive lights cut through the growing darkness. Towering limestone walls surround them on every side, rising like underwater cliffs hundreds of feet toward the distant surface. Above, the research boat is now nothing more than a tiny silhouette floating inside a shrinking circle of daylight. There is no current, no sound except the steady rhythm of breathing through a regulator. Only a silence, an unsettling silence, the kind that reminds every diver just how small they are.
When we first looked into this giant blue hole, we expected another geological formation. Instead, we found a place capable of preserving thousands of years of Earth's history, almost untouched.
For centuries, places like these remained beyond human reach. Sailors crossed above them without ever knowing what lay beneath. Fishermen avoided them, often telling stories of strange currents, disappearing equipment, and endless depths that seemed impossible to measure. Today, we know these mysterious formations as blue holes. They are among the rarest geological structures on Earth. Some formed hundreds of thousands of years ago, when much of today's sea floor was dry land during the Ice Age. Rainwater slowly dissolved massive limestone caves beneath the surface. Then, as glaciers melted and sea levels rose, those ancient caverns flooded, creating enormous vertical shafts that now plunge deep beneath the ocean. Some are deeper than the skyscrapers are tall. Others descend farther than scientists have ever explored. In Belize, the famous Great Blue Hole revealed ancient cave formations unlike anything expected beneath the sea. In China's South China Sea, Dragon Hole extends more than 300 meters into darkness. And in Mexico, researchers investigating Tom Jaw Blue Hole recently discovered something even more astonishing. Their instruments kept descending and descending until they could no longer confirm where the bottom actually was. That changed everything. Because if scientists still cannot reach the bottom of some of Earth's deepest blue holes, what else might still be waiting down there? Could these submerged caverns preserve evidence of landscapes that existed before the oceans rose? Could they contain a species isolated for thousands of years? Or could they hold geological secrets capable of revealing how our planet changed after the last ice age? Those questions have driven some of the most ambitious underwater expeditions ever attempted. What scientists eventually found was not treasure. It was something far more valuable, a hidden record of Earth's forgotten past, preserved in darkness for thousands of years, waiting for the first explorers brave enough to descend into the unknown. By the time the divers reached the first ledge, the ocean above had become little more than a faint blue glow. The walls surrounding them were no longer covered in colorful coral. Instead, they were smooth limestone cliffs, silent, towering, and ancient. Their dive lights swept across the rock, revealing the grooves and sharp edges carved by flowing fresh water. That was the first clue. These walls were never supposed to be underwater. Millions of tiny marks etched into the limestone told a story that stretched back to the last ice age, when sea levels were dramatically lower than they are today. Thousands of years ago, these enormous chambers were dry caves. Rainwater slowly dissolved the limestone, creating vast underground caverns filled with stalactites and stalagmites, much like the famous caves people visit on land today. Then the climate changed. As glaciers melted across the planet, oceans began to rise.
People often think the greatest discoveries are hidden in space. But some of the most extraordinary scientific evidence is waiting beneath our own oceans, protected by darkness.
Year after year, century after century, the sea flooded these once dry caves, sealing them beneath hundreds of feet of water and preserving them almost exactly as they had been left. For scientists, it was like opening a time capsule. One of the most remarkable examples came from the Great Blue Hole off the coast of Belize. In 2018, an expedition led by explorer Fabien Cousteau and businessman Richard Branson descended into its depths using the specially designed submersibles. For the first time, researchers captured detailed images of the massive underwater cavern, mapping its interior with modern sonar and high-definition cameras. What they found surprised even experienced explorers. Enormous limestone formations still clung to the walls, stalactites hanging exactly where they had formed in open air thousands of years before the cave was flooded. They were unmistakable evidence that the cave had once stood high above sea level. Further down, the environment changed again. The water became darker, denser, stranger. Oxygen levels dropped so dramatically that almost nothing could survive. Below a certain depth, fish disappeared completely, crabs vanished. Even many bacteria struggled to exist. Instead, scientists encountered a layer of water rich in hydrogen sulfide, a toxic chemical that creates an eerie white haze resembling an underwater cloud. Passing through it felt less like diving through water and more like entering another planet. Visibility dropped almost to zero. Lights scattered into the dense chemical layer. The deeper they traveled, the quieter everything became. Yet despite appearing lifeless, this hostile environment turned out to be one of the greatest natural preservation chambers on Earth. Without oxygen, organic material decays incredibly slowly. Sediments settle gently onto the bottom year after year, preserving tiny fragments of shells, pollen, microorganisms, and ancient debris in perfectly ordered layers. To most people, it looked like ordinary mud. To climate scientists, it was an archive. Every thin layer represented another chapter in Earth's history. Hurricanes, floods, periods of drought, changes in ocean temperature, even shifts in the atmosphere thousands of years ago were recorded within those sediments with astonishing detail. By extracting narrow core samples from the bottom of these blue holes, researchers could read Earth's environmental history almost like turning the pages of an ancient book. But climate records were only part of the story, because other blue holes around the world were beginning to reveal something even more extraordinary. Evidence that entire prehistoric landscapes and the animals that once walked across them had vanished beneath the rising sea.
What fascinated me most wasn't the depth itself. It was realizing these underwater caves were once dry landscapes where rivers flowed long before the sea arrived. Every layer of sediment we collected was like turning another page in Earth's diary, revealing ancient storms, changing climates, and environments that disappeared thousands of years ago.
The deeper scientists explored these underwater caverns, the more they realized they were not simply investigating holes in the ocean. They were exploring landscapes, entire worlds that once existed beneath open skies. Long before these blue holes filled with seawater, people could have stood near their entrances. Rivers flowed across the surrounding plains, forests stretched toward the horizon. Large Ice Age animals wandered across land that today lies hundreds of feet beneath the ocean. The sea we know today did not always exist. Around 20,000 years ago, during the peak of the last Ice Age, so much of Earth's water was trapped inside massive glaciers that global sea levels were more than 100 meters lower than they are now. Coastlines looked completely different. Entire regions of the planet that are underwater today were once dry land. As the climate warmed and glaciers slowly melted, the oceans advanced inland year after year, swallowing valleys, forests, caves, and entire landscapes that had existed for thousands of years. Blue holes became silent witnesses to that transformation.
As we descended deeper, life gradually disappeared. The silence became overwhelming, reminding us we were entering an environment almost completely isolated from the modern ocean. The evidence preserved inside these blue holes tells us something remarkable. Our planet has changed dramatically, yet nature has quietly recorded every chapter beneath the sea.
Unlike open coastlines, where waves constantly disturb the sea floor, these deep vertical chambers remained remarkably undisturbed. Everything that entered them settled gently to the bottom, protected from powerful ocean currents that made them extraordinary natural archives. In Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, divers exploring submerged cave systems discovered fossilized remains of giant ground sloths, prehistoric horses, ancient camels, and even saber-toothed cats, animals that once roamed the region before the sea claimed the land. Some cave passages also contained human skeletons dating back thousands of years, preserved in places that had been completely dry when those people entered them. Those discoveries changed the way scientists viewed underwater caves forever. They were no longer searching only for marine life, they were uncovering forgotten chapters of human and natural history. Every descent became an expedition into a world that no longer exists. Meanwhile, researchers studying blue holes in the Bahamas and Belize found something equally remarkable. Layer after layer of perfectly preserved sediment rested undisturbed at the bottom. Each layer acted like a page in Earth's diary. Microscopic pollen grains revealed which plants once dominated nearby forests. Tiny shells recorded changes in ocean temperature. Minerals trapped inside the sediments preserved evidence of ancient hurricanes powerful enough to reshape entire coastlines. Some storms recorded within these layers occurred thousands of years before the first written civilizations. Without blue holes, humanity would never have known they happened. Then came an even stranger discovery. In the deepest parts of several blue holes, scientists encountered water that had barely mixed with the surrounding ocean for centuries. Separated by differences in temperature, salinity, and chemistry, these isolated layers formed invisible underwater boundaries. Crossing them was like passing between two completely different worlds. Above, fish, corals, and sea turtles thrived in sunlit tropical water. Below, darkness ruled. The oxygen disappeared. Hydrogen sulfide filled the depths. Life became incredibly rare. Time itself seemed to slow. For scientists, these hostile conditions created one unexpected advantage. Almost nothing disturbed the ancient sediments resting below. That meant every new core sample extracted from the bottom had the potential to reveal another forgotten chapter of Earth's past.
People ask if we discovered treasure at the bottom. In my opinion, the greatest treasure was knowledge, evidence that helps us understand Earth's forgotten past.
The deeper researchers looked, the more they realized that the greatest treasure hidden inside these giant ocean holes was never gold. It was knowledge, preserved with astonishing precision by nature itself, waiting patiently beneath the sea for thousands of years until science was finally able to reach it. After decades of exploration, thousands of hours underwater, and countless scientific expeditions, one question continued to echo through the diving community. What is actually hiding at the bottom of these giant ocean holes? The answer turned out to be something few people expected. Not an ancient civilization, not a hidden treasure, not an unknown sea monster. What scientists found was something far more valuable, a perfectly preserved record of Earth's past. Every layer of a sediment resting at the bottom of a blue hole is like another page in a history book. Unlike the open ocean, where powerful currents constantly disturb the sea floor, these deep vertical chambers remain remarkably still. Year after year, tiny particles drift downward and settle gently on the bottom, preserving an almost uninterrupted timeline of our planet. By extracting long sediment cores, scientists can identify ancient hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, prolonged droughts, changing ocean temperatures, and even shifts in Earth's climate stretching back thousands of years. It is one of the most complete natural archives ever discovered. Blue holes have also transformed our understanding of prehistoric life. They have preserved Ice Age cave formations that should never exist beneath the sea, fossil remains of animals that disappeared long ago, and evidence of landscapes that vanished beneath rising oceans at the end of the last glacial period. Some have even yielded traces of early human activity, reminding us that long before these places were submerged, people may have walked across the very ground now hidden hundreds of feet beneath the ocean. Yet perhaps the greatest mystery is how much remains unexplored.
What surprised our entire team was how perfectly these caves preserve the past. It's as though time simply slowed down once the ocean filled them.
Many of Earth's blue holes have never been fully mapped. Some continue beyond the limits of modern diving. Others descend into passages too narrow or too dangerous for human explorers, leaving autonomous underwater vehicles and robotic submersibles to venture where people cannot. With every expedition, the maps grow larger, the questions become deeper, and the discoveries become even more extraordinary. The ocean still hides far more than it reveals. Nearly 3/4 of our planet is covered by water, and much of it remains unexplored. Somewhere beneath those waves may be other blue holes, larger than any we have found, preserving chapters of Earth's history that no human has ever seen. Perhaps the greatest lesson these giant ocean holes have taught us is not what lies at the bottom, but what patience, curiosity, and science can uncover when we choose to look. Because the greatest discoveries are rarely the ones we imagine. They are the ones nature has been protecting all along, and somewhere, beneath the silent waters of our oceans, another forgotten story is still waiting for its first visitor.
We've explored only a tiny fraction of our oceans. If discoveries like these are already changing science, imagine what still waits in the darkness below.